Nobody wants to see any more unboxing videos, but what if it is your first drone or your first Autel and you're not quite sure what to do to set it up before you fly? Well, today's video, I'm going to give you the top 7 things that you need to do before you take your first flight with your new Autel Evo 2. Hey, what's up? It's Hobart. Welcome back to my channel. I really appreciate it, and the day has finally arrived. I got my Autel Evo 2 Pro. Got to give a big shout out to Zach and his team over at DroneWorks. If you are in the market to get a new drone, upgrade your drone, have questions about a drone, even after you buy a drone, you've got some problems or some issues, DroneWorks and Zach, all those guys over there will take care of you from A to Z. Their customer service is second to none. So if you're looking for a place to buy a drone, DroneWorks is the place to go. I'll put a link down in the description, but big shout out to them for taking care of me. And I'm super happy with it so far. So I got 7 things you need to do before you take your first flight. And the first one is to download the Autel Explorer app. They actually suggest that you download the app and get familiar with it before you even get your drone. But I like to have it all connected to the drone to be able to kind of see all the telemetry and really get a full experience of what I'm going to see when I'm flying. So you can play with it without having it connected to the drone. You can see the different menus and stuff like that, but you need to have that app downloaded. You can go to the Play Store if you have an Android, or you can go to the App Store if you have an iPhone, and you can download the app. It doesn't cost you anything, and start getting familiar with it for sure. Number 2, you need to get yourself an Autel account. You can either do that online or you can do it within the app once you're all connected and logged in. Either way, you got to have an Autel account, and that allows you to be able to track your different routes and trips that you've done. You get access to different software and downloads. You get access to the community, so it's really cool, and it's a must to be able to use the app on your phone. It also registers the drone to you, so they know it's you, they know the serial number and everything about it, so that's really cool. So definitely number 2 is to sign up for an Autel account. All right, so it's time for number 3. So after you've got your app downloaded and you've got yourself signed in, it's time to power on the Autel Evo 2. But the very first thing you need to do is you need to remove your props and your gimbal guard. Don't turn your drone on with your gimbal guard on or with the props on while you're inside the house for sure. So it's really easy to remove the props on the Evo 2. It's basically a press down and twist, and they come off, which you'll see. Just press down on the blade and give it a twist, and it comes right off. So the first thing we're going to do is get these blades off so that they don't cause any damage if we turn it on and the Evo 2 goes nuts. So those are off, and then also you want to get the gimbal guard off. Now this is a pain in the butt. There's lots of complaints about it already. Autel, really? Come on. But I've been able to kind of get the hang of it a little bit, and in order to get it off, you're going to take your fingers and you're going to push in on both sides and gently pull down. Okay? So now you've got your gimbal guard off, and you're ready to go. In order to power on the Autel Evo 2, first thing I always do is I turn on my remote. Okay, remote, you got your power button right down here. Gonna hold that down until it beeps. And now this is gonna power up. Then, with your Evo, there's a button on the back right there. You're gonna tap it once and then long press it for a couple seconds. And you'll hear the fan start. And obviously it'll make noises and the lights will light up. So now you're good to go. Now you're going to be connecting your cell phone with one of the included cables that they give you. Sorry for you iPhone users, they don't give you a lightning cable. It's either a USB Type-C or what I call before the USB Type-C, the older one. And you're going to connect this in your remote. Down here at the bottom you have a port. You can open this up and you're going to put the 90-degree angle in here, like so. And then the other end is going to connect to your cell phone, which goes into your cell phone holder. Of course, that expands to different size cell phones. So once you get yourself connected, then go into the Autel Explorer app. You're going to sign in, and there you're going to have a software update pop up on your screen. Make sure that you do the software update. You can do it at this point before you have charged your drone if you want to. If you don't want to and you want to charge, that's fine, but it only takes a few minutes and you should have enough battery power to complete the software update before you need to charge your drone. So go ahead and follow the prompts on the app. It'll give you a download. It'll download it to your phone. Then it will ask you to push it to the drone, and you just hit a button and it will wirelessly communicate to the drone and update the remote and the drone accordingly so that it's ready to go, all on the latest software. So it's a very easy process, takes about 10 or 15 minutes to do, and then you're good to go. So that was number 3, power on the drone, and make sure you do those software updates. Number 4, well, now that we got everything set up with the software updates and the app, now I would say it's time to charge the drone. In order to do that, the first thing you're gonna do is take your battery out, and on the back of the Evo 2, you have 2 buttons here on the side. You just push those buttons in, and the battery pops out. Kind of looks like a Phantom 3 battery as far as the squareness and the size of it. But hey, baby lasts 35 minutes for sure. I've tested it. And then you get, of course, you get your wall charger. They don't give you a car charger. That was something that I need to add to my collection. But you get a wall charger, and you go ahead and plug this in about an hour and a half or so. Your battery would be fully charged. Now when it comes to the remote also has that port down here that you've already connected with your cell phone. There's also a place to put a charging cable in here. Plug that baby in, same thing, about an hour and a half, and you're gonna be fully charged. Now, it does take a long time, but the good thing is that it does give you like 4 or 5 flights before you need to charge the remote again. So, you know, you spend an hour and a half charging it with the drone. Once every 4 or 5 flights, it's not too bad. So definitely happy with the battery life so far. All right, so we've got it all charged up and we're ready to go, right? Nope. It's time to get to number 5. All right, so for number 5, once we are all charged up and ready to go, I would say let's turn on the drone while we're inside and let's get familiar with the Autel Explorer app. If you've already had an Autel drone and you're familiar, you can skip this step. But if you're new to drones or you had a DJI before and this is your first Autel, you're gonna wanna take a look at this. Now, I'll go through a quick run through on where everything is, but later on, I might do a video where I run through the entire app to kind of give you a rundown of what everything does and all the different sections that are in this app, and there's a lot of them. So let's go ahead and dive into the Autel Explorer app now. We'll open it up.
Self-checking.
Go into the camera section, and of course you can see a lot of stuff here on the screen. And one of the very first things that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to click the upper right-hand corner, that settings wheel that's up there, and this is kind of your main area that you're going to be in besides your camera settings. So let's start off right at the top. I know when I first got my Evo 2, the novice mode was enabled, and that's at the very top here. And what that does is it minimizes the amount of distance you can go, the height you can go, and the speed you can go, so you can get acquainted with the drone before you go a mile away. So you can turn that off if you're already an experienced pilot, but leave that on and maybe have a few flights if you're new to drones or maybe new to Autel Evo. Now you also have a section here, the go home. This is your altitude for going home. When it does a return to home, whether you initiate it or it loses your communication and it initiates it himself, you want to make sure that that drone goes high enough so that it doesn't hit anything on its way back to you. Okay, so what happens if you've never done a return to home is when that happens, the drone is going to go up to a determined height, fly back to your location, and come straight back down again. So if you live in an area where you've got really high trees or power poles, you want to make sure you get above those. So that's why I put mine at 230 feet. It's kind of a random number, but I figured here in South Florida, there's really nothing higher than 100 feet. So I should be plenty good to go. But that is where you're going to put your return to home height, is in that section right there. So, speed limit. This is where you go to your ludicrous or your standard mode. Now, I've heard some people complain that, you know, when you're out here in the app, having to go into and touch a button for ludicrous mode is a pain in the butt, and I don't really see that as a problem. So, if you click it, it tells you, I'm going to turn off the obstacle avoidance system. Okay. As you can see here in red, it says obstacle avoidance is off. You do have the choice between 34 and 45 mile an hour, so you can choose 45 miles an hour if you want. But again, your obstacle avoidance is off. Go back to standard. It's as easy as just hitting the standard button. So I'm not really sure why the complaints on going in from there to a menu to hit the ludicrous button. Doesn't make sense to me. Speed limit, obstacle avoidance on. That's going to tell you when your obstacle avoidance is on, that's your speed limit, that is fast as it will go. And that's why it gives you options. You can go 11 or 22. And then, of course, in ludicrous, you can go faster. Your altitude limit, this is how high that your drone is able to go, or the limit you want it to go. It will tell you you're at your limit. You're at your limit when you reach there. Kind of helps me out if I'm going up and not really paying attention. It says, hey, whoa, whoa, you're at 400 feet. Stop. So that's pretty good. Distance limit, your compass calibration, that's something that we're going to do before we fly. So we're going to come back to that. In your visual navigation, this is where you're going to turn your on and off your obstacle avoidance. and also the radar map. Now, when you have obstacle avoidance on and you come up to an obstacle, it'll actually show like an arc of red or orange with a distance on your screen, on your remote, and that is going to give you the ability to see how far away that object is and whether you need to really slow down or not before it slows you down. And it will slow you down probably 20 feet or 30 feet out, and then crawl until it gets about 6 feet away, and then it won't move anymore. So this is where you have your obstacle avoidance settings. All your remote control settings are here, your image transmission here. This is something new to me since I had a Phantom 3. We didn't have this on there, but this is showing you any of your interference that you got with the current Wi-Fi signal. As you saw, there was just a spike right there, but for the most part, it's pretty good. If it stays in the green, you should be good to go. Now, when I was flying the other day out at the Jupiter Inlet, that video I just posted, that whole time I was flying with choppy, frame-by-frame live feed because I think I had a lot of boat radar and other things around me that were interfering with my signal, but I was still able to get some pretty good video. But this is where all of your settings for your image transmission are. Your aircraft battery, here's your settings here. You can change your warning on when it warns you that you have a low battery warning. I have mine set at 25%. And then your critical battery, you can also have that set however you want it as well. I've got mine at 15%. You can choose the time that you want it to discharge. It also gives you your battery serial number in here. Your gimbal settings. This is where you're going to do any of your gimbal changes. You can do your pitch EXP sensitivity down here at the bottom and change how fast you want it to move. I actually want mine to move slower than it does come stock. Stock, it's like instant, which is good in some cases, but when I'm trying to do cinematic shots, I want to make sure that that gimbal goes nice and slow. So you also have your automatic calibration here that we're going to be doing in the next step. And that is your gimbal calibration that I suggest you do before any flight. And we'll go over that in our next step. And then you've got your final tab here, which is your general tab. Okay? Now, besides the upper right-hand corner settings, down in the lower right-hand corner, you have this little arrow. That is where your camera settings are. So all the other settings are in the upper right-hand corner. Your camera settings are in the bottom. Here you can touch on 1080p resolution. As you can see, I can go all the way up to 6K. I can do my frames per second, 24, 25, 30, 48, 50, 60, and 120. I've got my MOV or MP4 formats if I want. Auto exposure is on. If you turn your auto exposure off, then you can start to change your aperture and your shutter and your ISO. You've got 8x digital zoom on this baby, so I can go all the way to 8 and click 8. Boom! So you got 8x digital zoom. I'll go back to 1. It's a little scary. Autofocus, your color, if you want to have different colors, if you want to go into log or not, all that information is down here at the bottom. So camera settings are at the bottom right. The drone and the gimbal settings and the battery, health, all that's in your upper right-hand corner. Now, if you want to do intelligent flight settings, those are going to be in your blue tab in the upper left-hand corner. You see it says intelligent photo. You click on those, and in here is all the different intelligent photo things that your drone can do, from your dynamic track to your tripod track where it stays in one place and just rotates, parallel track where it stays parallel to you and tracks you, your orbit mode where it orbits around an object. All of those things you can play around with, but this is where all of your intelligent photo modes are going to be for your drone. So for the most part, that's pretty much it. As you can see in the lower left-hand corner, there's a little microphone, and also on the back of the remote, this B button here, I accidentally hit all the time. It's got an assistant in it. You can actually tell it to do things, like you can hit the button and say take off, and it will take off. Or you can hit the button and say land, and it will land. It's pretty crazy. I haven't used it yet, but I keep hitting it inadvertently and trying to shut it off, so I have to figure out how to do that. I guess if I had a con already, is that button I hit automatically with my hand when I'm trying to hold the remote. The other thing is that your maps are in the upper left-hand corner here. They slide away, which I like. In DJI's, they were in the lower left, and they just stayed there. So I like that you can move your map out a little bit, and they're using Google Maps as well, which is great because I did not like the maps that DJI used. So if you wanted to see the full map, you can just touch on the map and it will open it up, and you can touch back on the picture of your live feed and it will go back to live feed. So that's pretty much it when it comes to the app. So let's get to number 6 in the list, and that is your gimbal calibration. All right, for your gimbal calibration, it's gonna go a little something like this. I'll put this right in front of you like so you can see. I'm not sure if you can see with where the camera is, but you'll be able to see in the live view. I'll leave that up there. So if we're gonna do a gimbal calibration, I suggest you do this before every single flight. It's gonna get that camera so that the horizon is nice and straight for you. And the way to do that is to go in the upper right-hand corner, hit that settings button, then you're gonna go down to gimbal, and then automatic gimbal calibration in the middle. Okay, make sure that your aircraft's on a nice flat surface, whether it's inside on a table or outside on the ground. Just make sure you're not on a tilted driveway or something like that. And you're gonna hit the starting calibration button, and you're gonna see the drone camera is going to start moving around and flopping around, doing its thing for a few minutes, a few seconds. It does it slow first. Now it's rotating this way and that way. Now it's turning this way and that way. It's just getting itself all lined up. And when it's all done doing its thing, you see calibrate success at the bottom of your screen right there. So that's all you need to do, and now you're ready to go and you're nice and level. Let's make sure. So you can see there's the camera that I'm recording on right now in my living room. But there is a gimbal calibration. Now that's all we can do inside, so what do you say? Let's head on outside. It's time to get this baby up in the air, but we've got one more thing to do. Number 7 coming up next. All right, so now we're outside and it's time for a very final step before we get up in the sky. We've done everything that we needed to do, from getting our Autel Explorer app, getting the account with Autel, doing our software updates. We've done our gimbal calibration to make sure our horizon's good. We've also gone through the Autel Explorer app to make sure that we're familiar with some of the basic things that you can do with the drone. So one of the last things you need to do is your compass calibration. Compass calibration is important because when these were built in China, they did a compass calibration over in China. And what that does is it aligns the drone with magnetic north. Well, magnetic north in China might be slightly different than magnetic north here in South Florida. So I would definitely do a compass calibration before you take your first flight. I actually do a compass calibration before every flight, and the manufacturers recommend that you do one if you move your location more than a few miles, but I do it just to be safe. The last thing I want is to be returning to home and have the drone think that I'm somewhere else. So a compass calibration is pretty easy. All you have to do is, first we'll go into the Explorer app, and you're gonna go to the upper right-hand corner, and you're gonna see right down in the main screen, compass calibration, okay? Now there's a couple ways you can do this. Some people, like myself, will take it and actually do rotations with the drone. Other people, they'll put the remote down and they'll take the drone and actually spin it themselves. I like to do it the other way so I can keep an eye on the app as I'm doing it. So let me show you exactly how it works. We're gonna hit the starting calibration.
Calibrating.
I'm gonna pick up the drone, I'm gonna hold it just like this, and I'm gonna spin around until it tells me to stop. All right, now it tells me to hold it vertical and do the same thing. Calibration successful. So now you go ahead and put it back on the ground, and if all went well, we should be ready for takeoff. So in order to take off, you're gonna put both of your sticks to the in, or you can do both sticks out, and it will turn on your motors, or you can just hit the button that's on the remote. That is your up and down button all the way to the left, and that will also let the aircraft take off. So let's see. There we go, baby. Thank you so much for joining me today on this video. I hope I got you all set and ready to go to get your new Autel Evo 2 in the sky, safely, securely, to make sure that you caught everything on your checklist. I appreciate you guys watching my videos. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask down in the comment sections. I appreciate it. We got lots more videos to come, friends. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. See ya.